Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ask Geoff and Lauren. We're here to answer your double bass related questions. So if you have one, you can leave it in the comments below this video. So Lauren, I've got a question here from Gabriel. Okay, I'm going to go straight into it. Geoff and Lauren, I'm a jazz bassist aiming to have some abilities as a classical musician. Which bowing skills should a jazz musician acquire? Other than working on technical exercises and scales, which I already do, and how to work on improvisation with the bow. I know there's two questions, so let's pick out the first one then. So if you're teaching, I mean, I know you do teach jazz bass players, our friend Lawrence, who's a jazz bass player who you've been teaching, what skills do they need to acquire, like with the bow? What's really going to help them get started?
Well, first of all, I think it's really good, Gabriel, that you're working on technical exercises and scales. And personally, I'm one of those people that thinks you can never have enough because every single technique exercise affects you in so many different ways. And when you work on these technique exercises, what's so great about them is that you can focus on whatever technique you want to get better at in the moment. And then when you're playing your music, you don't have to think about it as much. You can just focus on playing the music. So keep working on those technique exercises. I think those are really important. And if you need any suggestions for more technique exercises, if you're just a glutton for punishment, then please ask in the comment section and I'll recommend some. But in terms of what techniques I think jazz players need to learn with the bow, that's such a great question because more and more people now are taking solos with the bow, which I think is so cool. It gives such an interesting timbre and tone to the overall sound of the band.
Yeah.
But a couple of things that I wish I heard more in bowed solos is, number one, more control over longer notes.
Yep.
And that comes in a lot of different forms. So when you're holding a long note, I think it's really important to be able to keep the tone consistent. So practicing long tones is a good way to do that. And trying to keep the sound as much of a even kind of rectangle shape as you possibly can. That's how I see notes. I see them as either square, depending on whether they're staccato, or long tones that have an even sound. So that's a really big one because a lot of times you hear sort of whoosh sound at the beginning of every note and then coming away, or the opposite, and you want it to be completely even. Okay,
and that's because there's less weight at the tip of the bow, because a lot of these guys maybe aren't less experienced at using the bow.
Right.
So the issue here is that you've got more weight at the frog and less at the tip. So there are a couple of different things that you can do. You can use speed, but most likely you'll use weight at the tip to even out the tone. So you'll add it in as you get near the tip, disguise the shift, back again, release it, and try to keep control the sound. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on there.
No, it's okay. It's a great point and something I didn't think of. The second thing I would really love to see you working on is better articulation in the bow. So if you're playing something quicker, sometimes it becomes a little bit fuzzy and people can't hear exact notes. And you're not always going to be able to hear every single note perfectly, of course. But one thing I really like about, like, when Christian takes the solo, Christian McBride, he takes solos with the bow and he sounds so good. And a lot of that is because he's so forceful with his bow that the sound just like pops out. I mean, it's so great. So if you can focus on that articulation, and the way that I would do that is when you're practicing your scales, lower on the instrument or higher up on the instrument, practice a quicker rhythm. So if you're practicing like quarter notes, bum, 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 maybe then go into 2/8 notes, bum, 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 and then 4/16 notes, da, 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 and try to get as articulate as possible. And something that also can help is recording yourself so you can hear yourself. And the worst kind of recording equipment you can get, the better, because then you'll really hear what you need to work on. So I record myself with my iPhone and I get the worst sound, and so that just tells me what I need to work on. Finally, and this kind of goes along with the second thing I brought up, but in terms of the articulation, a lot of times I see improper bow placement, and it goes both ways, but usually I see the bow a little bit too high and above the fingerboard when it would really help for you to bring it closer to the bridge. Now, that being said, if you watch videos of my former teacher, Craig Butterfield, playing, he's got a lot of really great videos of him just like shredding on the bass.
Craig's
so
a great example about somebody
He's
who knows how to use
amazing.
the bow and also play jazz and
Yeah,
all
right.
styles. Yeah.
And he sounds unbelievable, but he also has his own distinct sound, and he doesn't play incredibly close to the bridge, but he gets a sound that he's worked very hard for. So he plays a little bit higher, not completely over the fingerboard, but close to it so that he gets a more spread kind of sound rather than a more direct tone. And all that I can say about that is that, put thought into it. If that's the sound that you want, then figure out the way that you can get the best sound with that specific tone. And if you want it to be a little bit more punchy, you want it to be a little bit more forward of a sound, then experiment with getting closer to the bridge. So those are my suggestions.
Wow, well, I mean,
Then?
there's a lot of stuff going on there. You've stolen all of my ideas, really. So, okay, so here are the things that jump to my mind when I think about, someone that's less experienced using the bow with jazz. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here. So the first thing is, articulating the notes that Lauren was talking about, just to really re-emphasize that we're talking. The problem that often happens is that the bow is skating, and you really want to put a lot of effort into the start of the note and be able to divide the bow up into 4, into 3. Practice just long notes, go da, 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 and starting it, and you'll find it gets harder as you get towards the tip than it compared to the frog. So really try and control it at the tip, and then just do 4, and then do 8, and then do long tones. But really make sure that you can start the note cleanly. That's just like so fundamental. And so often you hear this scratchy kind of brushing sound, which isn't the same as that wonderful kind of tone that people like Craig or Lauren play with. So you really want to pick those notes out. Also, as we were talking about with weight distribution, that's really, really important. And speed is important as well. But the other one I wanted to just highlight in terms of for bow control is understanding that as you get higher in pitch and your hand moves towards the bridge, your right hand should be moving towards the bridge also. And that you should be playing nearer the bridge when you're playing in thumb position and nearer the end of the fingerboard. Don't play over the fingerboard. That's another really common thing that you see less experienced arco players do, where they're brushing over the end of the fingerboard and it's too high up there. And Lauren's quite right about the right hand often being too high. I'm sort of doing a German grip here. You probably can't see anyway, actually, but and that's really important. And I think what tends to happen here is you want to be keeping the bow perpendicular to the string, and often the angle is actually facing down, so you're kind of soaring like this instead of it being perpendicular to the string, and that remains as you move further towards the bridge as well. You need a mirror to work on this stuff. You need to work on technical exercises, really, Gabriel. I think, unfortunately, the thing is about practicing scales or just a chromatic scale or something is you're not focusing on your left hand. To improve with the bow, you have to put all your attention into your right hand. You have to be monitoring yourself in a mirror, recording yourself, listening carefully. All of those things are really important. Lastly, I think it's one thing that's really hard to do is to play swung quavers without it sounding really cheesy with the bow. And I think it can sound really dum-ti-dum, kind of sort of thing. And it can sound really twee. It's actually quite hard. I think people like Christian McBride, there's a great bass player called Alex. I think it's Alex Spradling. I really hope I haven't mispronounced your surname, Alex.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll provide a link to him because he'll just, blow you away with his virtuosity. And Craig Butterfield as well. But I think it does take time, and I think learning melodies, but really you have to focus that your triplet, your quaver rhythm is based cleanly on a triplet and that you're articulating it properly in the same way that you would do if you're playing classical music. It would be exactly the same. You'd be wanting to be thinking about rhythm, but I think often rhythm is overlooked, and when you've got these chains of dotted crotchets and a quaver, so I can't do the translation, but you know what I mean. Play or quavers, or just two quavers together. If they're swung, it's getting it so it's getting it so it sounds cool, and that really involves having the control over each one of the notes and being able to start them. I mean, there's a lot of information there that we're throwing out. And lastly,
such a great question.
Play some melodies, you know. Let me tell you one really funny question. Funny thing that I heard just to finish off. So I was speaking to a friend of mine, a piano player, about the bow in jazz, and I'd done an arco solo, and he goes, "Yeah, good on you, Geoff. You know, you're getting into that was good." And he said, you know, the problem is, though, I've got this other guy I play with, and he always gets the bow out of the worst moments. And he says that he'll be playing the piano and it'll be like, not now. And it'll be right in the middle of the tune or some halfway through the song in some really bad way. Like, why? Not now. And I always makes me think that you've got to be careful with this stuff, you know, because it is such a big change. But also get out there and do it, because I suffer from not using the bow enough. I should use it more in my lessons. I should use it more when I'm soloing, and frankly I tend to just play pits because I find it easier, and that's not good enough really. So I'll be working hard on it as well, Gabriel. So hopefully that's answered your question, and we'll provide links to everything we've talked about below. Have you got anything else to add, Lauren?
No, I think we both covered everything I was thinking.
Everything that we could possibly think of to do with bowing. Right, so excellent. So I hope that's helped you. Thanks for your question, and we'll see everybody next time.